Welcome back to episode number 17 of the 100M+5K podcast, Ned. That's the name of our podcast, apparently, sponsored by Lecka Nutrition. My name is Marcus. It's my honor to be here. And I've got my best running buddy, Ned, on the other line. Good morning, Ned.
Well, good morning, good afternoon. And as we jumped right into it, we were talking about your track session. Even though we're ultra runners, everybody must know the track is one of the greatest places on earth. Marcus, what were you just up to?
Track Tuesday. I'm going back to my roots of track running. So I have done today a 5x800 meter workout, basically 2 loops in 24 seconds per 100, which is 4 minutes per kilometer pace. Nothing special, to be honest with you. I feel better week by week, especially if you see all these young kids running around next to you. You're like, oh my God, I'm just a fat uncle slouching around the track. But, it's getting better. And I remember when I was a 16, 14, 15-year-old at track, and I saw people at the time of my age, I'm like, oh, yeah, I will never end like that. But look at me today. Here I am.
But we talked quite a bit about my running. Why don't we spend a minute on yours, Marcus? You came from track as a kid. You were pretty decent back. I mean, you're still decent now, but you were pretty decent back in the day, right?
Don't be too kind on me right now. I appreciate your kindness. I think nothing right now to claim. But I think as a teenager, starting age 13 or 14, I joined our local athletic club in near Düsseldorf, which was in Western Germany, probably one of the better ones. There were some better ones in Leverkusen, and I did 800 meters and 3x1,000 meter relay from age 14 to age 18. The age where everyone else is smoking and drinking and whatnot, and I was pretty much every single night training, 5 times, 6 times a week, 2 or 3 training camps a year. We were experimenting with adopting natural nutrition, understanding how you can, optimize your training. Yeah, and I made it up to the German Youth Championships with a 3x1,000 meter relay. I was maybe number 3 on 800 meters in our it's called Western Germany. It's not really Western Germany in terms of how we know it, but it's like 3 states combined. So I lived in the biggest state, North Rhine-Westphalia, and then 3 states combined was in the athletic world, Western Germany, and I was number 3 there with 800 meters. It was fun. It was amazing. I mean, I love the speed. I love everything that goes on track. So just going back to it every single time is just, for me, being back in paradise. So I really, really, really like it. Yeah.
It is. The track is great. A question: did you have dreams back then of being a lifetime professional runner? Because if you were, look, while I understand being third in your state in Germany is fantastic, we also know there's quite a long path from there to the top. But did you have dreams?
Unfortunately, not in running. I think it was amazing for me to release my energy. I'm fairly hyperactive, and my mom, I think, knew me quite well to just get me out of the door and get me running. I always ran. I mean, since I'm a kid, since 2, apparently, the videos of me running around like crazy. I think if I would have maybe been in America, it would have been looked different, because in Germany, you don't really have any support system. It's not really linked to a career, not really linked to college. It's just like you do it in an evening, afternoon, and that's it. Good luck. It's not something that you would pursue professionally necessarily. In US, it's very famous that, if you are good, you get sponsorships, you get scholarships, you get everything. Maybe even brands look at you and they support you at quite a young age. But in Germany, it's quite detached at the time, at least. So it was never for me an option. I was always wanted to be a businessman. So it was always very clear I wanted to start companies. I had this in my blood since I'm, I think, 8 years old. So yeah, but I always loved sports for sure.
The reason I ask is that I understand America's where it really happens, but endurance sports in Germany, given it, Jan Frodeno, Jan Ulrich, I know his path was up and down, but in Ironman and endurance and triathlon, Germany's got some history now. Do you think today a young Marcus today coming up in running or endurance might see it as a possible path?
Yeah, that's true. I think I did not mention my football career. I was playing football since age 3 and until age 13, 14. Until then, I switched to running. And the football, actually, which, as you might know, in Germany is quite big. It's for sure more, at the time, the 90s was already much more commercialized, and there was much more scouting on at the young age. And I was about to join a professional football team age 13. Because that was much more established as a sport, of course, right? And so maybe today, given that endurance sports and you have all these names you just mentioned and more inspiration and more idols and successful stories, you might have more support from state, family, school, college. I don't know, right? But yeah, I think, it's just never really occurred to me or my family at the time. But also, to be honest with you, I don't think I was that good. I was always better with people and selling and leadership. I recognized it fairly early. My physical abilities are only that strong. I think my other soft skills are much stronger.
Well, look, I hear you, and I know that getting to the very, very top of any sport is hard, but it's great that you're back at the track. Again, despite I'm an ultra runner now, I adore the track. I think it's just the greatest place by yourself or in a group, the track. So I'm glad you're back there, because I know you kind of a few months ago, you weren't running so much. You were kind of lamenting that your running wasn't going okay. So it's fantastic to see you out there.
I mean, I'm just asking here AI, the Google Gemini, tell me the benefits of track workout for endurance, just in case we forgot about it. So AI tells us track workouts help you with improving, of course, what it is, VO2 max. That is something we are caring about a lot. So the amount of oxygen your body can utilize during exercise, right? Lactate threshold boost. That's something quite important with track, so that your body can clear lactate more effectively and you can sustain your pace much longer. Mental toughness. Interesting. I thought about it today, actually. Because if you just do 5 times 800 or 10 times 200, it's repeating the same thing over and over again. And it can be quite tiring. And I explained today to my wife, and he's like, oh, wow, you're doing it 5 times. That's not bad. I'm like, yeah, and 5 times suffering, 5 times going through the pain cave. That really strengthens your mind.
I'm obviously VO2 and lactate, absolutely. There is some, particularly if you go to the track in a group. When I used to go on a Tuesday, Track Tuesday in Singapore, Magritte runners here. And there was it wasn't called this, but it was basically the big dogs group, the middle dogs group, and the pedestrians. I think that's unkind, but and when I started track running, I was, in the middle group, but, middle-ish. So I was like a little dog. But I spent years there, and I started to get towards the big dog group. So I then jumped into the big dog group, and I was at the back. But then there was a short period of time, and I'm sure Michael Craig, you're not listening to this, but Mike Craig was a guy who was like the big dog. And I remember there was this day when I was at the front of the big dog group, sitting on his shoulder. Man, my brain was hurt. I was in the pain cave. But I'm like, oh my God, look at me. I'm on the shoulder of the big dog. And that mental toughness, that ability to just sit on his shoulder and do stuff that I wouldn't have been able to do otherwise. So I really believe that mental toughness the track gives you is super special.
And I think the feeling of being pushed in a group along the track, it's something so magical. I want everyone out there to experience at least once in your life. It's like having a running orgasm, to be honest with you. I think that's one of the best things ever. Like, just to, don't have to be in the front even. I think just be in the pack, not in the back. It's kind of tough, but in the middle of the pack. What's better than that? I mean, I love it. I have so much fun doing that. Oh my God.
I know.
Well. Good. But moving from track to the opposite side of the spectrum, we're moving to your run, Ned. And I think this time, actually, I want to really dig into your run a bit more, because you did something quite special, just another 100 miles, but also timed quite on time to make it work to your 5K park run in Singapore. So today we have no guest on the show, but today we have also other many topics for sure. But I want to dig into your run a bit more and understand what was going on your 100-miler, which I think is, for me, one of the highlights of the year, to be honest, in your running life.
Well, first of all, thank you, man. I appreciate it. Also, thank you. You were there when I did 100K, which certainly at the time felt a long way, and it was a long way. But, like most ultra runners, if more is good, more is better. So that's what got me to the 100 miles. And and I think, for the listeners who maybe don't know, obviously, I like ultra running, but the other side of it is I like my own self-made adventures. I just dream up ideas and just go and do them for fun. And I did this 100K to 5K. So I gave myself 14 hours, made it back in 13 hours, 55 minutes or something. Marcus was there, ran the 5K with me. My goal was to break 30 minutes, and we ran 28:41. So then, this weekend I set off to do 100 miles. I gave myself 24 hours. And I like, because it's my own invention, I can do what I like. And I like starting at parkrun. So I just like this idea. I'm starting at the race, 24 hours. And of course, there's no one there, but I'm there. And I just like that. I like the silliness of that. And then, went off for a big loop of Singapore, plus a bit. A loop of Singapore is only about 125. And came back and then went out and back. And happy to answer any questions you have, Marcus, but it was an incredibly fun, painful, enjoyable, surreal, weird experience.
What was the most common thought you have during the 24 hours?
That I have to focus. So the thought I had was not thinking about work or family or life or anything else. From hour, I'm going to say 7 or 8, it felt like it might be starting to slip away. And from hour 12, and I've written my drop this week, and I'll read it at the end. From hour 12, it was really clear that this was slipping away. I got to hour 12, and I'd done 82K. Now I have to do 106, and I have to tell you a story about how far 100 miles is, because I didn't know. I started this run not knowing how far 100 miles was. How silly is that? But I did 44K in the first 6 hours. So it's 160K-ish, and we'll explain in the end, for 100 miles. So you've got to do 40K every 6 hours. It's not fast. It's a very slow. I did 44K in the first 6 hours. Yay. Then the second 6 hours, I only did 39. So if you do the math, 44, 39. If I lose 5K an hour, 34, I'm not doing this. So I got to halfway in 82. So the most common thought was this. No music in your ears, no other thoughts. Only think about keeping the pace. Think about running. Think about taking your salt tab. Marcus, I took 43 salt tablets.
Wow.
Like, I was sweating. It was in the morning. The temperature said 32 centigrade.
Yeah.
Feels like 39 because there was this extreme, and there was an extreme heat warning in Singapore. There often is, so don't be too alarmed. Listeners, there often is. But my most common thought was really concentrate. Like, this is going to come down to a minute. So when I go into a 7-Eleven, get ready. And Marcus, I didn't bring a phone charger, right? And I realized really early I couldn't listen to music because it was going to run out. So I would turn my phone off. Every hour and a half, I have to go into a 7-Eleven to buy juice. So 10 minutes before, and if you go to 7-Eleven to buy juice, I can do it in 5 minutes if I focus. But if I don't focus, it's 8 minutes. I stopped 18 times.
Oh, wow.
18 times because I'm self-supported until the end. So let's say I waste an extra 1 minute in 7-Eleven. There's 18 minutes. I'm not making it back. So when I was running, my thought was focus, run, everything you can to keep this together. And then as I came within 1 or 2K of the 7-Eleven, turn my phone on because I pay with my wallet, think what I'm going to buy. I know these 7-Elevens, so where is the juice? If there's 2 garages next to each other, I see which has cars or not, because there's going to be a queue. So common thought was focus.
You're telling me that the 7-Eleven staff already know you from your previous attempts? So like, oh, that kind of running freak again?
I mean, I don't know if they remember me, but Singapore is small. Kranji, it's out in the far side. As I swing into the 7-Eleven there at like 11 p.m. all sweaty, and they're like, oh, you out cycling? Because in Singapore, Kranji's quite far out. And I'm like, no, running. And they're like, running now? I don't really have time to explain. I'm like, yeah, like it's hard to. So I don't know if they know me, but some of them are quizzical about me.
And then the last 50, 60K, you kept the pace consistently?
As I'll explain in my drop at the end, so 100 miles, and I think in kilometers, is 8 minutes, 59 seconds per K average. When I stop in 7-Eleven for 5 minutes, that average ticks down, right? You know, like this is the whole time. And as I got to like 50K, so I'd started running, I was running 720s, 730s. Each time I stopped, it added a few seconds on. As I got to halfway, it was 8 minutes per K, then 8:10, then 8:20. With 50K to go, Marcus, at 50K to go, it was at 8:47, 8:48. And I'm running at about 8:30s. So I'm winning back 20 seconds per K. But then when I stop in a 7-Eleven, it takes 5 minutes. There's 300 seconds. So I actually had to increase. So I ran my last 6K, my last 6 hours were faster than my second 6 hours and third 6 hours. So I had to increase the pace to make it.
What was the feeling when you actually then made it in time at Parkrun? What did you have any feeling, or you were just zoning out?
This, I loved it and I enjoy it. And I never think I'm going to stop. And I think I've written a drop about this. I never think, oh, why am I out here? Oh my God, I'm so lucky. I adore it. It's hard and it's painful. I had a 7-Eleven experience where my brain told me, I didn't want Coke anymore. I didn't want Gatorade. I was sick. I felt sugared up. My brain said, buy milk and donuts. I don't know why. So I drank a liter of milk and I put 2 donuts in. They nearly came out and I couldn't eat anything the last 50K. So all of my thought in that last 50K was, come on, man. Like, I actually thought about Jasmine once. Jasmine said at Barclay, she doesn't want to come back, so she has to finish. I think she does want to go back. It's just a statement, right? I'm like, what I didn't want, I'd put on LinkedIn. I know LinkedIn's a weird place to talk about running, but I marry running and business. I had said pretty openly, not just openly, I was giving updates. I'm doing this. Honestly, I'm like, man, like I've already failed once in business pretty publicly. I want to take another L. I'm looking for a W here. I'm not looking for an L. And so when Roberto DeVito picked me up with like 16K to go and he kept me on track, with 3K to go, I knew I had it. And how did I feel, man? Like, I know this is going to sound crazy, but like a little sad it was over. Like, I quite like that world. I know I can't just keep running forever, but I quite like that world. Like, obviously a little bit of, yes, I did this. Shit, man. That's cool. Of course, I'll be honest. Do I like the good adulation people give me? Of course, I'd be lying to say that. So I felt all those things. You know what I felt? I can't wait to put this on Strava. Like, oh my God, this is cool. And I know we don't do this for the Strava likes, but come on, guys, be honest, right? Everyone likes likes, right? Like, just be honest, right? I don't do it for that, but of course I like that. But my overwhelming feeling was, man, what a fun adventure. How cool I can do this. And a little bit of internal pride. Because honestly, when those milk and donuts were coming out, I sat at a bus stop, like 120K. And I was like, and I watched, my watch went 8:48, 8:49. Because I'm not moving. 8:50. And I almost was like, yeah, whatever. And I thought, I'll finish it, but it will take 24 and a half. And it's okay. It's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay. So I felt a little internal pride that I didn't give in to the monster in my head.
How many people beforehand were telling you, like, what's the ratio of people telling you you will be doing sub 30 for the 5K? And how many were saying you do above 30? Do you remember the ratio of people?
Well, when I did the 100K to 5K, and Marcus, you wonderfully took me to 28:41, most people did not think I could break 30. So on my first attempt, most were like, no way. Of course, I joyfully did 28:41. I'm going to say half and half this time. So what happened was quite a few of the non-believers became believers, and other people were like, come on, man, this is 100 miles. That's gonna get at you. So I would say half and half.
I was really impressed. I was actually watching my phone and was reloading my Strava because I knew when Parkrun is finishing. So like, okay, it must come. And then, so then you of course you smashed the sub 30, which is amazing. Was it different to the previous 5K you did after the 100K?
Well, Marcus, I don't know if you know the whole story. It was so everybody needs to know the transparent, honest truth. There was no park run. Park run didn't happen. It was so we finished exactly on time. Well, 7 minutes to spare with Roberto De Vito. And there was thunder and lightning. And you know Singapore. You've been in Singapore when it's tropical. For any listeners who are not in Singapore, I know everyone's seen thunder and lightning, but Singapore, tropical thunder and lightning, I mean, it's no joke. Anyway, they said, look, we need to wait for the thunder and lightning. So I got a bit of an extra rest. Let's be honest, like an extra 15, 20 minutes. They were like, we're going to get struck by thunder. Myself and Roberto had been running in the thunder. Park runs under trees. You're not getting killed. And I love Singapore, but Singapore's a little bit overly safety. Like I don't care for safety. Life's life. It's fine. If you get struck by lightning when you're running, it's life. It's all good. Anyway, they canceled park run. So they said, we are not willing to allow people to park run. So Roberto, who is part of the kind of run director group, went, everybody, park run's canceled. If anybody would like to race a 5, because park run's not a race, it's a run. He stands up and says, if anybody wants to race a 5K, come with me. We're going to race a 5K on the park run course, but it's not park run, it's a race. And there was only maybe 80 people, 70, 80 people there, not the normal 200 for park run. I'm literally going to say every single person came with Roberto. We all walked down to the start line. Everybody ran the 5K for park run. And so it was a slightly different feeling because technically, but it's funny. Park run's not a race. Park run's a run. So this was a race. And anyway, so yes, the only difference it felt, Marcus, was I said to Roberto, let's run at 28:40 pace. So with no disrespect to you, good sir, taking me at 28:41, I wanted to see if I could run 28:40, but within 500 meters, it was clear I could not. It was absolute, but I was running 5:52s, 5:53s. I'm like, maybe. So I went 5:53, 5:52, 5:54, 6:02, 6:03, but that was enough to bring me in 29. It was, you remember how hard it felt when I ran with you? It felt just hard.
Yeah, I screamed at you a lot. I remember that one. Go, Ned, go. Wow. And I mean,
thank you.
That's what's next. I mean, are you going to do, we're all wondering, the whole world is wondering, Ned. Everyone wonders.
Not the whole world. Look, is there more? Yes, 100%. I obviously this is, so look, thank you everybody for following along. It was amazing. I adored it. I feel so crazy lucky to be able to do this stuff. I love these adventures. My dearest friend Alan Grant said, I have a really crazy idea for you, Ned. Why don't you race? Why don't you join an actual race rather than just running random 100-mile stuff around Singapore? A lot of this is a build up for backyard. I really believe in putting it out there because it keeps me accountable. I'm going to go 48 yards at the Singapore backyard team. I'm going to go 48 yards at 200 miles. I just am. As I said to somebody, I'm going to either melt into the road or you're going to have to take me away, but I'm not stopping this time. So I had this idea, but I don't think I'm going to do it. I had this idea. I ran 100K to 5K, then 100 miles. Could I run 200K, then 200 miles? But it doesn't excite me in my belly. So I don't know. Something will come to me, Marcus. Things just kind of randomly come to me. And yeah, I don't know.
Okay, we'll see. I'm sure we hear about it first on the podcast in any case, or on LinkedIn, one of those two channels you are very active about, talking about the backyard race. Moving on to what's going on in the world of, or now one more K world, I feel like. We had our dear buddy Sam Harvey trying to break the world record, but not getting there, unfortunately. What happened at the Dead Cow Gully backyard, Ned?
Look, Dead Cow was where Phil Gore, Harvey Lewis, and Sam Harvey last year put on that epic 101 yards. We all know in backyard, this is a single person event, but if you want to get to the world record, it takes two. And with no disrespect to the other athletes there, I think it was probably unlikely that any other athlete could match Sam. Ryan Crawford was definitely the class act next in the field. And he looked physically good, but I think at yard 64, he got disorientated and didn't finish. So I don't think physically he was done. But would he have got there? But no, look, I think Sam was always going to be taking this out without Phil Gore or somebody like Mori or someone like Harvey or obviously Ihor or somebody or a Belgian who's got 100. It was going to be unlikely. So Sam picked it up. He looked great. He seemed stoked. I had a quick message with him. He was super stoked. He got 10K as well. Not bad.
Prize money, yeah, that's very decent. 10,000, I think, Aussie dollars, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, look, 65 yards, 500. What's that like? That is like 500K. It's still an enormous, unbelievable, incredible distance. But these days in the world of backyard, it's just another race. But Sam is the class act. Sam said on our show, he wants to be the first backyard to go 1,000K. So so this is really just halfway for Sam.
Yeah, not that much. How much is your Laz through his walk across America? What's going on with the Lazcon?
He's getting there, he's approaching 700-800 miles. He gets about 20 miles done a day. He has something called centerline miles, which is miles on the actual road, which doesn't count for the deviation to go to diners and everything. He's 70. About 10 days in, he nearly quit. Like, he was really struggling. He's got a bad back. So he's suffering with back pain. He's got a bad back. He's walking pretty slowly. He needs a support crew. But he's been doing it tough. So my little Laz update is he is doing it tough. He's been close to throwing it in, but being the absolute warrior he is. Follow him. He has lots of good support. He couldn't do it without support. Kind people. Look, Laz is a legend. Kind people are coming out to walk with him, carry his gear. He stays at motels at night. 2021. He takes lovely photos. He's quite the poet. He writes some beautiful poetry about the states he walks through, Virginia and Williamsburg, and it's a great follow. Lazarus, will he make it? I mean, of course, I'm going to say yes, but it's the road is against him. I'm going to say that, sadly, but let's see.
Good luck, Mr. Laz. We are wishing you virtually all the best. We'll cover it more on the show. Well, then we had some exciting event happening in Asia. We had the Amazean by UTMB in Thailand, one of the two races that are happening by UTMB in Thailand. The other one coming up in December, Dointanon. Amazean is very tough. It's very jungly, very steep. I have not raced it myself, but I saw images and heard stories. It's extremely hard. And to almost no surprise, Hao Ha, our female Vietnamese runner, smashed it on the 100K. She won it, the female, and she came second overall, really cutting it tight to the number one. But yeah, another amazing performance by her, setting her up for the 100K at the UTMB CCC, I believe.
You know Hao Ha, right, Marcus?
I know her personally very well. Yeah, I've been training with her. I ran with her. I was, with her in Sapa, where she's from. She is from Sapa, North Vietnam. It's a very, very hilly, very mountainous region, North Vietnam.
Is she? So maybe a little of her story. We've been covering a lot of the women, Katie Scheid, Courtney, Sudmire. We haven't covered Hao Ha as much. What's her story? Because this race, this is, as you say, one of the toughest races. She's putting up amazing efforts. What's her story and how close is she to the very best in the world?
I'm going to give you the brief story because, exciting enough, we're going to have her coach coming to the show in a few weeks' time. Hao Ha's English is great, but we'll, of course, can get more from the coach then. And I think we're going to cover more on her then, especially what the plans are. So everyone stay tuned for Gim to come and join the show. For now, I can tell you that she is a very recent discovery. She started running in her early 30s. She was working in the tourism industry in Sapa. Was a mom, single mom, has, not really looked into running much until she just joined some local races and was very, very strong. So I don't want to get the dates wrong, but let it be only a few years. So in the Vietnam arena, she only came on the radar the last few years. When I started running in Vietnam 2019, she just started out. And yeah, of course, since then she has been able to smash it anywhere she goes. Even like last year's UTMB CCC, where she came fourth, and there was like this very famous video of her overtaking the top runners, which was just amazing to watch. How good she is, I think. Let me put it this way: that in the 1 second, there's some background noise. They're starting to vacuum clean my flat now. Interesting. Okay. Give me a second. We have a dog really here on deck, so can you hear it? You can hear it.
Not really.
Okay.
No,
okay.
No.
I think she's very, very strong. I think she has a lot. She has way to go. She is able to compete on the top. She has seen it last year. The only thing I always find a bit, not about her necessarily, but more about the female running circus, you don't have too many races where all the best meet. So you are not challenged enough. So I know with House case, she is like Courtney, she is going for the top spots of the race, not just in the gender. So it would be great to see more female runners going to the same race to really get a better understanding how good they are in relation to each other. At the moment, they pick certain races, and because there are not too many runners out there, they always win. So I think for now, let's see how she ranks. But yeah, I think she's definitely top 5 in the world right now.
Okay, we always say let's dig into this a little bit. We don't know where we're going, and I don't want to get too personal from Ha's point of view. You previously put together what is the cost of being a professional athlete from Vietnam, and on a GDP basis, it's massively expensive. The question is that you are right. If Ha wants to be the top, she has to go and race the top in America, in Europe, with no disrespect to Asian racing. The quality is higher overseas. It just is where it is. Is that a limiting factor for her now? Like, is there any possibility that she gets picked up by a Hoka and they ship her to Europe for 3 months? You mentioned she's a single mum. Again, I don't want to get too personal about what her situation is, but, we understand to be top, maybe there are some decisions have to be made.
I can't speak for her, of course, not a single bit. I just think there is this almost vicious cycle to a certain extent where you need to be able to race in the top. So you need to kind of have an upfront investment to go out to show that you are number 1, number 2 in the world. Then the brand comes and picks you up and supports you. So it's not that the brand necessarily travels to Vietnam right now to do those things. I'm very curious to hear it from her coach herself to understand what he has in mind. I only can see that it's an upfront investment, just like, the famous stories of all the tennis players like a Nadal or so on. The parents put up so much money to send them to the best camps, and then the investment is returned later on. I feel like this is a very similar scenario here with the Asian female runners.
Wow. Do you remember this guy called Mario Botticelli? He was this dude who had his camp in Florida, and a lot of the Europeans would, if you got into I think it was Mario Botticelli, I'm not pronouncing it exactly right, but he had this famous tennis camp. Maybe that's what we need, like an ultra running camp where the very best go to.
And I think that's not far off. The same with Formula One, when, you have parents who get the kids to drive very early and sponsor the cars and so on. I think it's very, very common with the sport. But yeah, triathlon, I feel like they already have been doing this a bit more, the camps in Phuket and so on, who've been trying to get the young talents in there, coach them, get exposed to sponsors and global races. For trail running, yeah, you're right. I haven't seen anything like that so far. It's still very individualistic how the talent has to be at the right time, right place, to be honest with you, get on the road, on the radar of the sponsor.
I wonder, so if, Jim Ratcliffe, the Saudi investor, I'm just saying Saudi for the sake that they have money, there are these billionaires who seem to love certain sports. Jim Ratcliffe from Ineos, who has brought up, he did the cycling team, he did Manchester United. What we just need is a billionaire who's an ultra running fan to just put 50 mil or 100 mil into this. But do we want it? I tell you what, Mark, it's for another show. Do we actually want what we want? Do we want this ultra at the Olympics and money in the sport? Maybe we don't even want it.
I believe in connected systems. The Buddhist in me believes that everything kind of is connected to a certain extent. So if you push one thing on the one hand side, something else also will happen. If we want Asian athletes to or like emerging market athletes, I don't want to say Asians, emerging market athletes to participate more in global races, it will come with a much more commercial sport, and that's good for the athletes. That changes the sport. There is no right or wrong. It's just how it all connects to each other and will have an impact on each other.
I think that's fair. Anyway, we'll dive into. I want to say one thing is that at the race in the Amazean by Jungle, on the 140, I'm just reading now, I think on the Betong 140, only 81 starters and only 32 finished.
Yes. So the 92-mile run, the Betong 140 was like the main distance. Pretty crazy DNF rate. It has 28,000 feet of elevation gain, so more than 7,000 meters. Gidimanas Grinius from Lithuania, who's actually also a top racer, he won it by a wide margin, finished by Sangesh Sherpa, who from Nepal, we will revisit him actually a few episodes time, so everyone stay tuned. Yeah, Manjini Chung from China, Francesca Canepa from Italy, and Nuche Pale from Thailand. But the finishing times are sometimes 5-6 hours apart from each other, so it must have been a very, very tough race.
I mean, look at that. I mean, obviously, Grinius is just, a top racer. 81 starters, 32 finishers. So in the men's race, Gedimius Grinius, 24-23, Sangi Sherpa, 28-26, and Michael Lesniak right behind him. But Man Yi Chung, who is, by the way, a finisher of 4 trails. So Man Yi Chung is one of Hong Kong's top, like, super ultra distance people, ladies. She won in 30 hours, 25. The second lady was 35 hours, 51, 5 hours behind. And the third lady was 40 hours, another 5 hours. So 5 hours, this race must have been brutal.
Tough. Also, quick shout out to Nguyen, who finished third male at the Betong 100, a good friend from Vietnam. And we had Vanya Knops from Belgium winning the Betong 50. So she came first female on the Betong 50, also a good friend of the show, Belgium, and being based in Singapore.
And powered by the wonderful Lecka nutrition that we saw, which we're always pretty proud of. But yeah, look, Vanya, it's great to see this. These are, how hard doing amazingly, Vanya also. But, just, I suppose the other question is, the sad reality is 81 starters. That's not economic. I mean, this is UTMB and they've only got 81. Either this race is, I think most people in Asia know that the hardest race in Asia is the Lombok race, Mount Ranjani. Like, that race is meant to be judged brutal, but by the looks of this, wow. And I'm interested why we never asked Florian, but when they pick up a race, was there much bigger fields, Marcus? Did you know in the 100 and the 50?
I don't know the numbers, to be honest. I can look it up, but I do think that, remembering what I heard on the ground and what Florian has said, the Thai races are basically franchise races. So I think the tourism board, or let's say the Thai government, is spending money on paying basically UTMB to own the By UTMB brand. They want to promote trail running in Thailand, so the government has stepped in and made it happen. So that's, I think, how this smaller race basically came about to be a By UTMB race.
Got it. Makes sense.
Yeah. Not confirmed by anyone, but I think that's just what I heard through the grapevines. Yeah. Alrighty. We had a few other races happening. It's a long list as usual. I just want to highlight the other race, the Sky Race des Mathessins. It's another exciting race that happened in Europe. Another Sky Race. I think we have seen them more and more, also covered more and more. It was, again, only 25 kilometers and almost 2,000 meters of elevation gain. So quite steep. Italians won Nadir Maguet with a minute plus win in 2 hours and 25 minutes. Yeah, I think giving a shout out here to the Sky Race, because I feel like these race series, vertical sky running are coming, and they're getting covered more and more.
Yeah, I think I've not had a lot of experience in the sky racing staff have seen it, listened. Interestingly, Hillary Allen was maybe one of the most famous stories out of sky racing. Obviously, Killian is incredible at sky racing because you see, I don't know if anyone's watched his videos of him flying across these ridges. But sky racing definitely has. I said at the beginning of this show, I don't like safety. Tell you what, I would be scared of some of these sky races. There, Hillary Allen had this very sad but fall. She recovered amazingly, but had this fall off a ridge, I believe in Norway. I don't know, Marcus. Would you be able to sky race? I'm not good on these sharp ridges. These people are doing. It's a different sport from ultra.
I love anything fast and steep. So I think I've done one race already in the Alps before, and it was so much fun with my brother. Actually, so much fun. So I will, as soon as I get another one around the corner, I will also go and do it. Yeah,
fantastic. Well, that's definitely, ultra and trail. Maybe one day again we should find out how many different flavors there are. Sky racing, vertical Ks, trails, 50Ks, 100Ks, backyards. We're about to talk about Cocodona 250, 6 days. I'd be fascinated to find how many different flavors of ultra and trail there are.
Yeah, I mean, I just did some research. Just the amount of 100 milers in California in the month of May surpasses 100.
No.
Just
no
100 milers in California alone in 1 month. Yeah, I'm like, we're talking not even like the 50Ks and marathons and road runs and I don't know, park runs. It's just 100-mile races in 1 month. 100
That is crazy. We talk about it, Marcus. You love business. I do too. This is the business opportunity of a lifetime in this sport.
I tell you one more thing, though, that these races are getting freaking expensive. I mean, I could not find a decent road marathon, where the entrance fee was below $100. Everything was above $100. And here now, listen to this one. I was looking to go to the expo or one of the trail runs. They're charging you $10 to just go to the expo now, like as a guest.
What?
Yeah. So you get a free entrance if you are the one crew member of the runner participants. But if you're just anyone else, you got to pay $10 for the expo. I'm like, whoa, what?
Just to get into the expo?
Here? Yeah.
And then in the expo, you buy more stuff anyway. You're already spending money in the expo. You're going to buy crap you don't. Jesus Christ. I mean, look, seriously. Well, look, let's not be too hypocritical, Marcus. No. We're selling products into this market too. We should be happy. But 100 milers in California just in May.
Yeah. But also to defense, I mean, I asked some race organizers recently here, and I heard that for a city marathon, I'm not going to say which city, but just to cover the police and the security, you got to pay $80,000 to the state, to the city, to pay for the police, right?
Let's be clear. As Jerry told us, as Florian told us, making money at race directing is not easy.
It is not. All right. So Cocodona 250. It's a race that came on my radar actually through documentary. Interesting how it works these days, where YouTube is a lead generator to find races. I know it's actually a big race in US. For anyone listening from Asia, Cocodona 250 is basically taking you through the most scenic parts of Arizona. It's almost through the whole state. Beautiful, dry, amazing landscapes. Anyone out there, watch the YouTube documentary about it. It's happening right now in Arizona. There's a live stream to it. I'm very impressed by the live stream. There are more than 20,000 people watching it. The live stream is 9-8 hours long, incredibly long for 6 days. Again, the engagement is super high. I following it kind of on the side a bit. What are you into? Are you looking at it as well?
So I followed Cocodona for a while for a couple of reasons. Jamil Khoury. So for anybody who is in America into ultra and trail, you know Jamil. He runs an incredibly successful race directing business called Aravipa. He runs like 60 races a year. Jamil's done Barkley a few times, good content producer, loves ultra, etc. So he put this on. So the guy who put it on had a good base to build from, huge fan base, etc. He was, after Candice Burt, he was one of the first to start putting on these big legend races. I think he did a great job with this. So I have been following it. I think this is year 4 or year 5. So yes, I've been following it. The other reason is when I did Backyard last year, my coach was Jeff Browning. So Jeff Browning is one of the GOAT's old dudes. He's fit, strong, 50. And so I'm following along. So am I following? Yes. And there are 4 names. So this is a little in the weeds, people. So forgive me 1 minute. Michael Versteeg, Michael McKnight, Joe McConaughey, and Jeff Browning. Jeff Browning, behind Speedgoat Carl, one of the most winning 50-year-olds, has run more than 100 miles. Great coach, great guy. Joe McConaughey, string bean. He held the record on the Appalachian Trail. Joe McConaughey holds the record on the Appalachian Trail, has tried to finish Barkley, hasn't managed it. Very good. Michael McKnight and Michael Versteeg, I think, are both coached by Jeff Browning. So Jeff Browning coaches Michael McKnight and Michael Versteeg. Michael Versteeg comes from the town that they run through halfway through the race. So he's like the local boy. And looking right now, Jeff Browning's at 165 miles, String Bean's at 162, Michael Versteeg's at 159, and Michael McKnight seems to be imploding at 134. So I'm going to say 2/3 into the race. The 50-year-old is leading, Jeff Browning. He's known as Bronco Billy. String Bean is coming at him, but, anything can change. There's still like 90 miles to go. I mean, Marcus, you were saying nice things about me running 100 miles. These dudes still have 100 miles to go, and they've been out there for a couple of days at least already. It's hard to watch an entire 4-day race live streamed, but it's pretty amazing. They do a good job. So yeah, this race sells out. I would love to do it one day. 250 miles. It's an epic.
That's for sure. Well, good luck everyone out there. We're going to cover probably the results next week. But yeah, anyone who is interested, go watch it on YouTube. Last but not least, the power of community is coming out. Dacia was dropped as the main title sponsor of UTMB, and Hoka stepped up as a premium sponsor. We remember the drama from UTMB the last few years. There was a petition signed by more than 2,000 runners that Dacia is not a brand representing the UTMB values. We don't know what happened, of course, but there was no announcement that it was dropped, but it just disappeared, and Hoka stepped in. That shows runners are having power.
Runners have power. Community has power. Hoka is the everybody loves Hoka's. Hoka's from Annecy. UTMB's from Chamonix. They all know each other. It's a love fest. More people will be happy. Given that UTMB's had been on a rocky path in terms of PR, social media, does it make sense to bring Hoka in? Yes. Do we know all the reasons behind? Absolutely not. Right? Maybe Hoka just outbid them. Maybe Hoka, as you told us last week, Marcus, Hoka's making billions of dollars. Maybe they just muscled in and said, "Look, dudes, who's the natural sponsor of UTMB? It's Hoka. Let's face it, right? They are the natural." It's their race to sponsor. If UTMB, you're like, yeah. And look, maybe, I'm sure Dacia, and maybe they wanted to give it in. Maybe, anyway, but UTMB will remain. They're doing their better. And I'm sure they'll start to come back in favor again. And I think this is probably a good move for them. I tell you what, Marcus, we didn't ask, but I'd love to ask how much Hoka paid.
I think we'll find out eventually. I think this will become public at some point. All right. This has been fun. A lot of updates, a lot of races this week. I think we're going to start another round of guests come to the show in the next few weeks. A lot of exciting guests coming. I think we'll take more topics in the Asian part. For now, as usual, excited to hear your drop, Ned. I am heading over to you.
Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. That was fun this week. We talked a lot about racing and different things, but I hope you enjoyed it, people. If you will indulge me, I wrote my drop about my 100-mile 5K. I write little race reports, and as you know, my writing style is a little short sentences, more like a poetry flow. So I wrote a short little poetry piece about my 100 miles 5K. I hope you enjoy. It's called All of It. All of it. Pretty much. That's what it took. 100 miles to 5K in 24 hours. Just me and the clock. Tick-tock. It doesn't stop. Even when I do. 100 miles is 160.93 kilometers in 24 hours. That's 8 minutes, 59 seconds per K average. It seems slow, but the time ticks when I run, and it ticks when I stop to buy a juice at 7-Eleven. I set off at 7 minutes per K. No issue. Cruising. Look at me. This is easy. I'll smash it. 6 hours in. 740 average. Ha! Too easy. It's 39 centigrade. Cool. I like the heat. At 60K, it rains. Lovely. At 70K, my head rolls into a funk. Too much sugar. Watch says 8 minutes per K. I grab a 10-minute stop for real food. Rice, chicken, potatoes. I ordered, paid, eaten, out in 10 minutes. I practiced that. Halfway. 82K is done. This is going south, even though I'm still running north. I'm losing power. My watch laughs at me. It thinks it has won. Seconds are bleeding off the average every K. F this. Let's go, I tell myself. I charge forward, slowly. No music. No light. It's night. No nothing. Just me and the road. Pull my hat down. Close my brain off. Come on. Don't let this go. Stick at it, young man. 90K. I swing into 7-Eleven. And for no reason at all, I buy milk and donuts. They go in and almost come out. And that's it. From then on, I can barely eat. I'm retching. Just sips of Coke. Don't think. 100% focus. What did Jasmine say at Barclay? If you can't run, run faster. I'm trying. The watch winks and smiles at me. 8:30s now. It's dropping every K. 110K, 840 per K. 120K, 845 average per K. 130K, 850. 140K, it says 858 per K. 1 second inside what I need to do. Okay, here is the game. Right here, right now, F the watch. I'm turning the tide. Roberto picks me up. I stick at his pace. I can't speak as I have no ability to run and speak. But 8:57, ha! 8:56, oh yeah. 8:55, who likes dem apples? 23 hours, 53 minutes, 7 minutes to spare. Now 5K. Lightning and thunder. They cancel park run. What? Roberto says to all, no park run, but anyone who wants to race a 5K, follow me. And I did. I followed him to 29 minutes and 53 seconds. 7 seconds to spare. I like that. 7, and powered by 7-Eleven. That's why I do it. For the random nonsense of this self-made adventure. Life is wild. Go run. See you out there. Ned.
Thanks, Ned. For clarification, we have no interest in partnership with 7-Eleven. Seems to come up a lot.
I love 7-Eleven. I mean, in Singapore, it's not always 7-Eleven. We have a local convenience store called Cheers and SPC Singapore. It's mainly in garages. I mean, you know this, Marcus, but it's mainly in garages. But I think 7-Eleven is a ubiquitous term for a place to go by. And one thing just to say, and then we'll wrap up because we both have to go. I have always thought 100 miles is 160K. When Roberto picked me up, he was like, Ned, it's 160.93. And I'm like, I don't have time for the extra 900 meters. Like what? Like, because I was going to be with 7 minutes to spare on 160 pace. And I'm running 830 per K, 930 meters. I'm like, what? No. And I had to speed up. So, you asked me, did I get faster? And if Roberto hadn't picked me up, I would have finished at 160 at 99.3 miles. So people, if you've learned anything from this show this week, 100 miles is 160.93 kilometers.
Here we go. There is some value to all of this. Come in the last few seconds of the show. Now we learn something. If by now we haven't learned anything, now is the time to learn. Great. Wonderful. Thanks so much, Ned. Appreciate everything we do and you do in particular. Lots of trail love and running love to everyone out there. This is the show to cover running, of course, the news, business insight, latest trends, especially from Asia. Let us know if you have any other input, questions which we cover. We're excited about the next few shows coming up. Until now, subscribe to our newsletter, follow us on Twitter, LinkedIn, follow Ned on LinkedIn. He's very engaging there. And until then, have a good week ahead. Thank you so much.
Thank you, people. We will see you on the next show. Take care.